Good evening. The City Council will convene on Tuesday, August 29th, 2023, to hold a special meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. for the purposes of discussing any and all business via in-person and remote participation in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Section 30A, Section 18. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. 2. Real-time public comments during public hearings can be addressed to the Peabody City Council utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via audio option. Now please join me in a moment of silence. And the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No, Councilor Gould, that's correct. No record to approve this evening. Sorry. Moving right in this evening, we're moving right into a couple of special permit hearings. For the first one, the clerk has already read the notice at a previous meeting. So for a Class 2 motor vehicle license for Lofa Auto Body, we're going to request the petitioner join us over here at the podium, please. Excuse me, before we have you come, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to recuse myself because I was not here on the 13th when this meeting was recessed, so I'm going to step out the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. I don't think you need to step out, but you can't vote.
Clerk had mentioned that I should leave the room. What should I do? It doesn't matter to me.
You cannot participate. You can stay within your seat, but you cannot participate.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Would the petitioners please introduce yourself and remind us what you'd like to do with this project?
Festus Chroma of Lofa Auto Body, 55 Rear Walnut Street in Peabody, Massachusetts.
Samuel Goer, 55 Rear Walnut Street, Peabody, Mass.
Thank you. And would you mind letting us know what you'd like to do with this project, please?
We would like to transfer an existing dealer license from the city of Peabody over to our address.
Thank you.
Special permit.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the petitioners? Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of the petitioners? Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive late 1.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any questions or discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. At our meeting in July, we discussed the ask here from the applicant. The business in front of them had a Class 2 motor vehicle license, which is non-transferable, but we did transfer the special permit in order to sell vehicles to them from that existing business at a previous council meeting. I have had the opportunity to speak with our fire department, Captain Dowling. We met on site today actually to review the parking plan that was submitted from the applicant, which is in late 1. This outlines parking spots for Tri-City, which is in the front closest to Walnut Street, and then the Loofah parking. When we were on site, the fire captain was happy to see that there were no violations at the time when we were there. There's been some issues with this property as a whole, not necessarily this business, just with making sure that we can fit an apparatus down there if needed. So I am in favor of moving forward with this. I will condition from the communication from, I believe it's community development, just conditioning that the parking, all vehicles for sale, employee, or undergoing work have to be kept on property. No vehicles to be parked or stored on the railroad right away or within the access way to the property. There are, if other councilors have questions on the community development memo, There are a lot of things in here that I agree with, though I don't think as a city we're in a position at this time to really move forward with a plan of changing use here. This is an existing business. It's an existing auto body shop who's now just looking to sell 2 vehicles at a time. So with that, I'll open it up to the council.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Are there any other councilors who'd like to discuss? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Peach. The Conservation Commission had asked a few questions in their response, but they also made a couple of suggestions. One, I think, specifically about no outdoor maintenance of vehicles. I think the other one, I don't think there's any outdoor work planned on the site itself, but I think the vehicle one is appropriate, but I'd like to hear what your comment is on that.
Councilor McGinn, Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor McGinn. That is addressed in their special permit, that there's no outdoor work to be done. So there's an existing special permit that was transferred to this business that has conditions from conservation. So I don't think it's really applicable because this license is not about working on vehicles, it's about being able to sell them. So those conditions do exist for the business on another document.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Peach. That makes perfect sense. The other question I had was with respect to the old license was the one that's transferring here, I think had 2 cars. Is it going to be the same limit here?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would, at this time, move to approve the application from Lufa Auto Body LLC, 55R Walnut Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting a Class 2 motor vehicle license at said 55R Walnut Street, Peabody, Mass., with a limit of 2 motor vehicles to be sold. Also would like the condition that no cars from employees, cars being worked on or sold, be parked along the railroad right-of-way or in the access drive to the property. And through the clerk, I'd also like to add to the motion that the parking plan that was submitted and received in late 1 is referred to this license. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache, Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item B, special permit for 5 Star Rims Corporation, 100 Bernie Street. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, August 29th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from 5 Stars Rims Corporation, 43 Hunters Run Place, Haverhill, Mass., for a special permit requesting to operate an auto body in a light industrial zoning district at 100 Bernie Street, Units A1, A2, and A3, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please let us know your name, address, and what you'd like to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody. I'm appearing this evening on behalf of 5 Star Rims Corporation, having an address of 43 Hunters Run Place in Haverhill, Mass. They are doing business in Units A1, A2, and A3 at 100 Bernie Street. They are the owners of these particular units under the name of Gell Enterprises, LLC. and they are seeking a special permit from the City Council to operate an auto body in an IL zone. They also, as part of their auto body, as is described in the zoning ordinance, they are operating a paint booth in the facility. This matter has been continued a couple of times. One time, at least, in order to be able to have an on-site meeting with members of the Board of Health and Building Department, Councilor McGinn, and that meeting was held on 8/7/23. As a result of that meeting, I think Councilor McGinn has prepared a set of conditions that are appropriate for the use of this business. We're happy to answer any questions the board may have. I think the only other pertinent information is that some business will be conducted under the name of Mike's Auto Body, in as much as there is some ongoing accounts, but the corporate name is Five Star Rims Corporation, and we have disclosed the appropriate landowner name, which are the same people, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the petition? Anyone on Zoom in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to give a little background on this, and a couple of points here are going to be redundant to what you heard from Attorney Kelty, but just bear with me. So this business has been operated by various owners for years without proper permits. So we're here tonight for an after-the-fact filing. So in an attempt to remedy that, a special permit application was submitted in March of this year, and that application was withdrawn because of the change in ownership. In May 2023, the council received from Attorney Kelty a memo explaining the change in ownership, and at that point in time, a new special permit application was submitted, which is what's actually before us this evening. It's a little confusing because there were some submittals made by the health department in support of that first application, and they later said, you know, just carry those forward to the second application. I don't believe 100% of that carried forward, but I think enough of it did carry forward that you're going to get the gist of it from what you saw in the health department submittal. So at the City Council's June 22nd and July 13th meeting, continuances were granted to allow time for the health department and the building commissioner's office to inspect some new equipment that had been installed by the applicant. And the applicants, we heard the business names, but the two individuals that are the principals are Mr. Luciano Lopes and his partner Wagner Pinedo. So that inspection that we were allowing time for by virtue of those two continuances, which Attorney Kelty made reference to, has taken place. And then in addition to those inspections, there was the meeting and additional site visit that Attorney Kelty made reference to, which happened on August 7th. And again, I agree with Attorney Kelty's kind of rundown of the attendees. The health department was there, the building commissioner's office was represented, the applicant was there, we had applicants, one of their key employees, Attorney Kelty was there, and of course myself. A number of abutters were invited, and unfortunately none of them were able to make it. This business has been a concern to neighbors and the health department and the building commissioner's office and the city clerk actually for another somewhat unrelated matter, which was a motor vehicle license, which was subsequently revoked by the council, and of course myself for a significant amount of time. However, I would stress that under the new ownership, there appears to be a demonstrated commitment to remedy all of these historic problems. So I think it's important that the council understand this background, understand that there's been a number of issues, and understand that we've got some new players involved here that seem committed to getting it right. Just to give you some sense of the scope of the problems, there's been multiple verified complaints, primarily to the health department, related to fumes from the primarily from the 4 residential abutters on Washington Street dating back to 2016. And these letters led to a letter from the health department in 2016, which involved Mass DEP. The business received an order to correct in September of 2022. The health department requested that the owners engage an environmental engineer in May of 2023. And then we had the most recent communication from the health department in July of 2023, kind of summarizing all that. To understand why this business and this building kind of create the issue that it does, the structure is really built into the side of a hill. So the exhaust chimneys that come out of the back of the building are roughly at the same height as the abutter's fence. So if the controls aren't in place and the processes aren't followed, it's really very easy, very simple to understand how fumes would be present in the abutter's backyard and in their homes. It's not a good situation, and if not for the commitment that was made by the current owners of this business, and the cooperation that they have demonstrated with the health department over the past several months, I would be sitting here opposing this tonight. But I think that they are making a very sound effort here, and they've engaged third-party assistance, and again, the cooperation that they've exhibited with the health department goes a long way with me in terms of their desire to make improvements. So I believe with the new equipment and the processes, these problems can be avoided in the future. But again, with that said, I think the applicants were very aware that if there are any future substantiated abutter complaints, they're going to likely be back before the council for a show cause hearing. As Attorney Kelty mentioned, I'd be putting forward a number of conditions on this. I just want councilors to be aware that all of these conditions were fully vetted by the health department and the building commissioner's office. I'm happy to review those now, but up to you if you want to hear them twice. The applicant, as Attorney Kelty has indicated, and Attorney Kelty himself, have reviewed all these conditions, and they are agreeable. With respect to the abutters, I've been in very frequent communication with them. They have also seen all the conditions. There were a number of them present at the earlier meeting with an intent to speak in opposition to this. I believe they are, I can't obviously speak for them, but I believe by virtue of the fact that they're not here tonight, they're not participating, and they were notified of every continuance and of tonight's special meeting and the time and the means by which they could participate remotely. By virtue of the fact that they have chose not to do that, I think they're more comfortable now that they've seen the conditions and have seen the effort that's been demonstrated by the applicant. So with that, I defer to other councilors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Are there any other councilors? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry for the coughing fit. Councilor McGinn, can you tell me where Bernie Street is, please?
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you know where Manziel is on Foster Street? That makes the corner of Foster and Bernie. Bernie Street's a private way. It's not a city street.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor McGinn. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the application from Five Star Rims Corporation, 43 Hunters Run Place, Haverhill, Mass. for a special permit requesting to operate an auto body in a light industrial zoning district at 100 Bernie Street, Units A1, A2, and A3, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. In accordance with Health Department guidance, applicants shall install and maintain all necessary equipment and shall develop and follow operational procedures to prevent operations from emitting fumes, particulate matter, or in any other way creating nuisance conditions for residential abutters. This includes, but is not limited to, the procedures relative to frequency and method of filter changes. This includes, but is not limited to, procedures relative to the capture and disposal of any automotive fluids, paints, and other potentially hazardous materials. The Massachusetts Clean Auto Repair Mass Car Guide is available at www.mass.gov/guides, the Massachusetts Clean Auto Repair Mass Car Guide. In accordance with the Health Department guidance, on an ongoing basis, the applicant shall utilize the Mass Car checklist available at www.mass.gov/doc/Mass Car checklist download. The applicant shall submit a completed version of the Mass Car checklist to the Health Department annually. All work operations shall be conducted inside the building with the outside doors closed. This includes washing of vehicles and handling of automotive fluid, and applicant will install proper indoor facilities, including water and oil separator, to accommodate this work. All flammable liquids require storage permits, and there shall be no indoor storage of flammables and combustibles without a permit. Applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the fire department, including but not limited to welding permit and flammable permits. There shall be no storage of junk, scrap metal, rags, waste paper, and/or hazardous materials. The dumpster shall remain closed at all times, and the applicant shall submit an integrated pest management plan to the Health Department for the dumpster and the premises. Any materials stored in the building must be managed to prevent nuisance conditions such as dust, odor, and rodent harborage. Outdoor storage is limited to storage of passenger vehicles utilizing the 11 parking spaces indicated on the site plan dated January 11th, 2023. All other storage of passenger vehicles shall be inside the building. The adjacent right-of-way area shall be kept clear and shall not be utilized for storage of vehicles or for any other purpose. Any unpermitted off-site storage of vehicles by applicants shall be considered a violation of this special permit. In accordance with the application, hours of operation shall be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. The wooden storage facility shall be repaired, subject to inspection by the Office of the Building Commissioner. Alleged violation of this special permit conditions may result in a show cause hearing at the City Council. So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rossignol,
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Belleville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item C, Class 2 motor vehicle license transfer for NARSA AMC. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, August 29th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from NARSA AMC LLC, DBA AMC Motors North, 218 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class II motor vehicle license at said 218 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass., for remote participation using the Zoom platform. Please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner reintroduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do?
Thank you. For the record, my name is John Kelty. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear on behalf of the applicant, NARSA AMC LLC, doing business as AMC Motors North. We actually will, in all likelihood, do business as Auto Mall Collection, which is what they currently do business as. So the applicant is correct, and the advertisement is correct, but we're asking, there was a disclosure of another name for a DBA doing business as, but we're going to keep the current called Auto Mall Collection. I've been able to review the documentation that has been provided by the various city departments. My clients are here this evening. This is something of an in-house. The Jamali family purchased this land years ago from Pizza Hut, and has continued to operate it since, I believe, the original permit that I got for the family was Bob Driscoll was our counselor then, and as such, we're now transferring it from one family member to another, and therefore to a newer LLC. Eddie Jamali is here this evening. He is the applicant and the CEO of the manager of the LLC that is the applicant for this transfer. The business in general will be run the exact same way that it has been. We're not asking for any increase in the number of vehicles on the property. The current permit is for 35 cars. We will keep it at that. And as such, we would ask that the council provide us with the permit that we seek, the transfer of the permit we seek this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone here on Zoom who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none. Anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition? Anyone on opposition on Zoom? Seeing none. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the summary, Attorney Kelty. This is exactly what's happening. This seems to be a pretty simple transfer from 35 unregistered cars. I met with the Mr. and Mrs. Jamali last week and walked the site, and the plan that was submitted, it does not represent what's happening now. They're going to keep what's happening now. So the only conditions that I would require are some of the existing ones that, or one of the existing ones, that no repairs of any kind are on site at any one time. Otherwise, I am supportive of this and would like to open it up to any other councilors.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Any other councilors on this matter? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Through you to either Councilor Daigle or Attorney Kelty, I just have one question about previous management or owner. Were there previous citations or warnings from the building department for going over 35? I believe sometimes that lot had gone over a bunch of times, actually. So I'm just wondering, do you have any record of that?
I can address that. Yes. There was, I think, 2 violations not brought before the council, but in which the police and building department wrote them up. We were at that time, so those many years ago, almost 10 years ago now, right? That, or even 12 years ago. We were going to apply for an increased number of cars, but that effort was withdrawn. And once again this evening, happy to stay with the 35 cars, and I don't think there's been any violation since approximately, I think that we got this original permit in 2010, and I don't think there's been a violation or suggestion of violation since 2012.
Councilor Manning Martin?
Thank you. And Councilor Daigle, you hadn't received any calls in your tenure recently? Because that corner gets to be a hot corner sometimes. At least that's my recollection with an overage. But it may have been some time ago, so I just didn't know if there were any recent calls.
Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Manning, no, I have not received any complaints, and I did speak with Representative Tom Walsh about this, where it's our hotspot on 114 with a lot of traffic and barrels, and he had no objection. And actually, I'm glad you're asking this, because the police, their comment is omitted from this, or they neglected to submit one, but they had no objection other than the suggestion of a write-in and a write-out only, which applies automatically because there is a median in between 114. So no, there's no poor history or record or complaint that I'm aware of, and happy to see there's no one here before us tonight.
Councilor Manning Martin?
Thank you very much for your response. And just a reminder to the petitioner that there had been issues in the past, and as Councilor Daigle reminds everyone that we do have some issues with 114, that we're doing a lot of work and there are a lot of eyes on this. So just for the petitioner to be mindful of the situation there. Other than that, I support the transfer of 35 vehicle special permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gamache?
Yes, thank you. In reference to Councilor Manning Martin's looking for historical data, I want to say there was a show cause hearing in 2012, and that was due to the fact that they were storing vehicles across the street on Sylvan Street at another gas station, and that was brought to our attention. We had the hearing, and it has been rectified, and everything has been good since then. But that was a show cause hearing in 2012 that they had been storing extra vehicles over there so that they wouldn't go over their numbers on site. But it's been rectified, and I'm glad to see that everything has changed and everything is good, and I wish you the best of luck with this transfer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Any other councilors? Councilor Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Daigle, just as a reminder, where we've had so many issues with vehicles being unloaded, just to make sure that the petitioner knows that there's no offloading of vehicles onto 114. It has to be onto their property. I know, not that they've had issues but it has been issues on 114 up and down with car carriers offloading vehicles right onto 114. So I just want to make sure that that's addressed and acknowledged. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rosendahl. And to that point, Councilor Daigle, maybe Councilor Gamache, you might be able to remind me, did we put that as a condition on some of the previous special permits that you had on Route 1, where there'd be no car carriers delivering on the route? And is that something that we'd want to do for this?
We if I may?
Yeah, Councilor Gamache.
Yes, we have included those in some of the newer dealership licenses, but since the ordinance has been adopted and is now a legal matter, it's kind of moot. And I can't wait to get the first one, to be honest with you. It's going to be within a week, I can guarantee it. So with that being said, I don't think we need to have that on the special permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache, and thanks for clarifying. I appreciate it. Any other councilors on this matter? Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And with that sentiment, and I talked to the petitioner, and we all agreed that if they are to come back for an amendment, we will need a plan that's to scale and stamped that accurately depicts all of the parking spots, so that way we're thorough and we know that we can fit and are not creating any hazard for any new cars that are on site. But tonight, we're just talking about a transfer, so motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilors, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Daigle.
I would like to move to approve the application from NARSA MAC LLC, DBA MAC Motors North, 218 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class 2 motor vehicle license for 35 unregistered cars at said 218 Andover Street, with the condition that there are to be no repairs of any kind on site at any one time. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilor, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. 35 unregistered. You also have some employee parking and customer parking in addition to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilors on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
I was trying to get your attention, City Council President, just for clarification.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, through you to Councilor Daigle. It's 35 unregistered motor vehicles on the premises at any time for sale or not for sale, sold or not sold, correct? So that's what's being transferred? So I didn't hear you. Did you say there's also additional employee parking and additional cars on top of the 35 sold and unsold, and/or unsold?
Through Mr. President to you, Councilor Manning, yeah, I might refer to Attorney Kelty on this, but I think what we're permitting is the unregistered cars. The plan that was presented is not accurate, but if you go on site, you'll see that they do provide the alternative parking for customers and employees right now.
So it's more than 35 spots for 35 vehicles? And that's included in the language of this transferred license that's before us?
So there you go.
I think we're just approving the Class 2 for the unregistered cars. Jack, do you have a total number that you want to throw out to us?
I think that's what Councilor Manning's pointing to, that language did provide for 35 unregistered and plus the employees.
Okay, so the reference of coming back later is for a change in the parking schematic?
It would be for additional unregistered cars on site.
Yeah, which we've no plan to do so now at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the not getting your attention. I'll throw something at you next time. Thank you.
That's my fault. Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Any other councilors? Okay, on this, seeing none, roll call vote. We're actually in roll call, right?
Councilors Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rossignol,
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors, and have a nice evening.
Before we move into item D, Councilor Manning Martin, I believe because you were not present, similar to Councilor O'Neill, you cannot participate in this. You don't have to be recused. You can stay.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Moving on to item D, a special permit. The clerk is not going to read a notice on this as we did hear the notice the other evening, the previous meeting. So I'm going to request the petitioner to join us at the podium. Thank you. Thank you. Before we move into this, Councilor Gamache, can we get a motion to receive item E, please?
Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8E. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. The petitioner, if you could please reintroduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do. Thank you.
Sure. For the record, my name is Casey Birch. I'm a project manager at Solely Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of Collab Dev 1 LLC. And I made my presentation about a 2,400 square foot Starbucks coffee shop at the last hearing on Thursday. Since that time, the council members wanted additional information, which we have provided the following morning on Friday. And just to go over the approval history again for this project, we did receive approval from the ZBA on June 15th, 2023, for the relief from the city's landscape buffers. The project has gone through extensive review from the city planner and the city engineer, along with 2 third-party reviewing agencies for both the proposed stormwater management design, traffic impact assessment, and we received closeout letters from the city engineer on July 19th, which you do have in your possession now. We also received site plan review approval from the planning board on July 20th, 2023, which we also provided proof of that approval as well. With that, I'd like to reopen up questions from the council or
Thank you. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone on Zoom in favor? Seeing none. Anyone in opposition who would like to speak? Anyone on Zoom in opposition? Seeing none. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. Prior to the meeting, I asked the petitioner to kind of explain the parking situation that, based upon the property line, it cuts through the existing parking there for a Thaki restaurant. He is, and I'll let you say exactly what, it's going to be a mutually shared. There's not going to be any divider with the parking that previously exists, so there will be no issues with that. There is also parking to the side of the restaurant, which allows them to keep the amount of space they needed for the square footage of the restaurant. So, but that line looks like they've delineated the parking or taken out the parking. That's not true. The parking is going to remain as it sits there with in the vicinity to the restaurant, and they will be doing parking closer to the building. They'll be redoing all that. So to put that to rest, the existing parking for the most part will remain.
That is correct.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Are there any other councilors who have questions about this matter? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. No questions. I just wanted to thank the applicant for getting the information in promptly. It was as you had indicated it would be, so that clarified the situation for me. So again, thanks for your prompt cooperation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move approval on the application from John Roach, manager Collab Dev 1 LLC, 529 Main Street, Boston, Mass. For a special permit to develop an out parcel proposing to construct a coffee shop with an associated drive-through use in the BR1 zoning district. The project proposes to render impervious surfaces greater than 15% or 2,500 square feet of the lot. A stormwater management infiltration basin is proposed as part of the project to recharge stormwater runoff back into the ground at 1 Newbury Street. Lot 2, shown on the Assessors Map 88, Parcel 008X Peabody, as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.9.5, Section 30, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance, with the following conditions. First, I'd like to apply the Department of Public Services recommendation from Robert J. Langley, the Director of Engineering, dated July 19, 2023, and that's the review of the site plan. The other issue I have would be to have the petitioner complete the plan review with the Health Department. That's part of the paperwork submitted. The next would be hours of operation, Monday through Saturday, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Construction hours, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., no holidays. And 4, the drive-through approval would be approved, but any change of ownership use petition, the petitioner must reapply for the drive-through permit. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you've heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, maybe just to the clerk, I had chatted briefly with Councilor Gamache, so the reference to the engineering memo from Bob Langley, that's going to capture all 10 conditions that are listed in there. Yep, everybody's agreeing? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill, Peach,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item E, special permit for Sam Malafonte, Solely Engineering, on behalf of John Roach.
It's the one we just did.
Oh, excuse me.
And the late communications is accepted.
Late communication was accepted. My apologies.
There's no
All right.
further items
no-
on the agenda. I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Sounds good. All in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you all, councilors.